The mind always assumes its current state is stable. It treats the flux of thoughts as fixed furniture, solid and predictable. We mistake the immediate ripple for a permanent structure. This belief that our internal life has definable boundaries, that we can wall off anxiety or construct a perfect mental dam against grief, is perhaps the most persistent and costly illusion we accept. The question is not how to eliminate bad thoughts, but how to stop treating them as facts about who we are. We spend so much time trying to fix our internal landscape by adding resistance. More discipline here, more meditation there, a new belief system over that. But the deeper flaw in this architecture of self-help is its misunderstanding of what calm actually means. It suggests calm is an achievement, a finished product we must build and defend against external chaos or internal panic. The goal, then, should not be stasis, but a fundamental change in relationship to flux. Calmness is not the absence of turbulence. It is the radical acceptance that turbulence is the only thing that exists. To begin this process, we must look at the concept of self as structure, specifically through the lens of Stoicism. The core idea here, most famously articulated by Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, is a sharp division between what belongs to us and what does not. We are taught to categorize things into two camps: our judgments, our choices, intentions, responses, which are entirely within our control, and everything else, other people's opinions, the economy, weather patterns, even our own memories, which lie outside it. The Stoic method is a profound exercise in boundary drawing. It demands that we anchor our sense of self not to circumstance, but only to assent, our willingness to judge something as good or bad, desirable or terrible. By practicing this intellectual separation, the emotional weight of external events loses its primary source of power. This framework teaches us that suffering is rarely caused by the event itself, but by the story we attach to it after the fact. Yet, the simple division offered by Stoicism risks becoming an arid exercise in intellectual resignation, a detachment so complete that it borders on fatalism. If all that matters are our judgments, does this not risk minimizing the inherent value of passion, of rage, or of deep sorrow? This is where the complication enters, drawing us toward Buddhism and certain schools of Eastern thought. These traditions do not simply advise judging things as outside our control. They challenge the very substance of the self that is doing the judging in the first place. They introduce concepts like impermanence, anicca, and non-self, anatta. Impermanence means recognizing that everything, including this moment of reading, thinking, or feeling solid anxiety, is already dissolving into what comes next. Non-self suggests there is no permanent, singular, you locked inside the skull, but rather a continuous flow of actions, thoughts, and physical states interacting with an environment. To truly understand calm, one must therefore dismantle the illusion of the fixed self, the self that feels threatened when things change. This understanding moves the goalpost entirely. If the core mechanism causing distress is the belief in permanence or stability within our personal narrative, then peace becomes a form of radical cognitive surrender. It means accepting not just that external events are uncontrollable, but realizing that the internal boundaries we draw around who we are equally fragile constructs. Practicing this requires constantly identifying the moment where you solidify an idea about yourself, that you were wrong, that you failed, that you deserve comfort, and then gently letting that solidity dissolve back into pure awareness. This is not apathy. It is immense intellectual generosity toward your own mind. It is allowing thoughts to simply be thoughts, like clouds passing across a vast and indifferent sky. The idea of the fixed self reappears now, weighted with this necessary doubt. We look at our minds, still assuming that when we are calm, there will be a stable occupant, a coherent consciousness presiding over the peace. But the quiet mind is not a portrait you paint and hang on the wall. It is only the brief gap between one ripple of thought and the next. It does not require definition or ownership. What this truly means is radical acceptance of impermanence, not just accepting that emotions change, but recognizing that the self you are arguing for, the self that needs to be protected or perfected, is itself an ongoing fabrication. The effort we expend on managing our narrative, on keeping ourselves consistent and predictable, is precisely what creates the stress in the first place. The secret isn't about achieving a perfect state. It's about ceasing the struggle to maintain any particular state at all. It means treating your mind less like a battlefield that must be won and more like an ocean viewed from a distance. Vast, deep, always moving, never static enough to cling to. When you stop trying to own the silence or capture the peace in a neat little box labeled calm, you realize the quiet is not something you achieve. It is simply what happens when you finally drop your guard. You are already here, right now, existing within this moment of pure observation. That realization, that non-effort is itself effortlessness, is the profound liberation. It allows us to move through the chaos of daily life without carrying the baggage of expectation or the weight of permanent identity. We can be deeply engaged with our responsibilities and relationships while maintaining this quiet, spacious awareness underneath it all. So, if we circle back to that initial question, what is the secret? The secret isn't a mantra, nor is it an exotic technique reserved for years of meditation. It is simply the gentle willingness to let go. To look at your mind and say, "I see you," without demanding anything from you. No obedience, no improvement, just observation. And in that simple act of seeing what is, exactly as it is, we find a profound, unstoppable stillness. The quiet mind isn't a destination. It's the breath between thoughts, always available to us.